Testing. 1, 2, 3. Yeah, so when I leave for the weekend, my kids play around with all the mic, all the equipment. So I was unmuted everywhere except the actual handheld. But what is up, boys and girls, ladies and gentlemen, day traders, class swing traders? Hope you guys are doing absolutely terrific. My apologies on the audio. I hired some old bankers from SVB to do the audio, so they had nothing else to do. They're not professionals though. You can't really be too mad. But the good news is we got Chuck in the house. Good morning. We got Albert, attorney Dan, Brian. Good morning, Brian Ripple. Carrie's in the house. Good morning, Eric Fayaz, Franco, Hector Hernandez took some time off from real estate to join us. Good morning. Appreciate that. We got Helen, Jeremy, JT, Kevin, Kyle, Lauren, Martina. The squad is out. Marissa's here. Good morning, Michael, Paul, Rick, Shane, Tanya, Tony. We got Wally's in the house. My boy. We got Richard Jett in YouTube land. All my lurkers that not comment on YouTube. Good morning to all of you guys. Hope you guys are doing better than SVB this morning. Hope you guys had a fantastic weekend. Let's see. We did have a good, when I went to sleep last night, it was very reminiscent of last weekend where last Sunday night where we were kind of rallying, and then by the open it was negative. We've pushed ourselves out of negative territory back in the positives. Can anybody say chop? Will we pause? I don't think we paused this time yet. I'm not quite there yet. It is possible. Like there's a shot, but I think we go 25 basis points. And then I think I wouldn't be surprised though if the Jerome Powell wants to pull a sneaky little move and I think the market will react the same. If we go 25 basis points, he could get that accomplished, get that in there. But then during his meeting, during the conference, he announces that he's going to pause for the next time. That is possible. That gets him best of both worlds, where the market will still rally off of that, knowing that there's a pause. But yeah, he has to say something. He's got to say something. The big chop. JP drops the hammer. He goes, you know what? We're going to rip the Band-Aid. I'm going to 75. Market just freaks out. He's like, let's get it over with. But we'll see. So SPY right now, again, little bit of back and forth so far. We do have a little VPOC from yesterday that we were slightly below. We've got a very long 26 minutes from what we do now till then. We're so close, and we've been breaching this thing back and forth. So I don't know if this is going to be the best one to hold today. However, right now we're there. To the higher side, we got 392.06. To the lower side, we've got a very, very good support at 387.41. So somewhere in that range. I would expect maybe that would be the bounce spot if we do start tanking at open. Again, there's a lot of fear out there from mainly calls from the regional banking news. I mean, nobody really knows what's happening. Credit Suisse did get bailed out by UBS was it yesterday? Time is flying. I think it was yesterday, but at first, yeah, okay, that's great. Credit Suisse is saved. They kind of have to be saved. The way they went about it makes you worry, like, how much trouble were they actually in? I don't know. Little suspect. Usually you'll have some voters vote on it. Can we pass this? This is a good takeover. They bypassed all of the voters and kind of did a shady in the night, middle of the night type of deal. So there could be some extra trouble, and I feel like there's a lot of tree that we only know a part of it. Even going up to before we get to the Qs, even going into FRC, yes, they did have all of the bigger banks, the top 5 banks, whatever, throw $30 billion into them. But in a weird way, what really happened, I shared the Three Stooges video over the weekend of like, you owe me $20 and they just pass $10 around and they all settle up. It's very similar to that, where all of the depositors that are freaking out about these more regional banks, they're taking their money, they're putting it into the bigger banks anyway. And then the bigger banks are now taking that same money and putting it right back into First Republic and other banks. So realistically, I mean, it's just a big monkey show at this point. It's kind of crazy. So I don't think the bigger banks are too worried, and I wouldn't be surprised if the reason they all came together and put some money in is because they had a little talk with the Fed, and in some way that new money's kind of backed up, and just the Fed doesn't want the smaller banks to continue to fail and more panic spreads, and that's also bad for the bigger banks. So I don't know. But that being said, I will go over a play that I'm going to do today with FRC. So stay tuned for that. And then later today, 3:30 to 5, we do have a new stock that I'm adding to the long term, and we'll go through what that one is and why I'm doing that too. The Qs, we are at a little bit of, again, support resistance zone, depending on how you want to look at it. We are dead smack at pretty much Friday's VPOC, maybe a penny or two to the lower side. We do have a good double top area. Nice bullish day. Again, Q is going to represent more tech. And if you don't want to put your money in banks and you also don't trust Bitcoin, where else are you putting? Probably going to lean a little bit to tech. And we did talk about this too, where if the Fed pauses, really starts to reverse, which it probably won't be for a little bit, but at least you need to get the pause before you get the reversal on rates. All of the companies that benefit are a lot of the tech companies, a lot of the companies that are not making money, not profitable, because then at least it becomes a little bit easier for them to maneuver, get their hands on money, and they desperately need some money right now. So you do see some relatively decent strength coming from the Qs that you're not really seeing so much on the SPY end of things. Let's check out some of the favorites, and then we will go to whichever stocks you guys want. If you guys want to put them into the chat pane or to the YouTube land, by all means you can. Otherwise, we'll go through some of the bigger stocks right now. We got Tesla. Tesla's just kind of hanging out below two different VPOCs. So we probably have a little bit more resistance to the upside on Tessie. We are below all moving averages as well. So probably could make it down to about 174.25. That gives us about roughly $4 on that range. I would love to see it bounce first, get up to like 179.22, and then maybe we look for a short opportunity if we could get it, but still looking a little bit to the weaker side for that one. Let's see Google real quick. Google, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. If you own Google, this is probably a good day or attempt to sell some kind of calls against it. But we are in an uptrend. We do have a level 105.20 on Google that I would expect probably some resistance to come in if it doesn't come in here. So if you're day trading, 105 range, so slightly above 105 would be probably the stronger target for it. And then that's probably where we get at least some kind of pullback in this thing. Amazon, same thing. We have a almost 3-bar play. If that had a little bit more volume, that would be a lot closer to it. But decent volume, hanging out upper third region. Right now, opening inside day. Attorney Dan wants to check out Meta. The metaverse. The metaverse is looking at reality going, I can't compete with this. I mean, there's not enough AI learning for me to develop a newer meta crazier verse than what you guys are doing to yourselves right now. We got Meta. 198.78 is probably going to be resistance. So we are below VPOC from both Friday and Thursday. This one's going to be probably a little bit more to the chop zone. Risk to reward wise, I think shorting is going to give you the best bet, but I don't know where these markets want to go today specifically. To the downside, 193.74. That would also be pushing into some of those moving averages. Maybe we start to break it. I got my 21 over here. And by the time this thing opens and runs, probably maybe 192 is a little bit of a maybe stretch goal, field of dreams type situation. But we are inside of Friday, so there's not a lot going on there. let's look at Pinduoduo. PewDiePie. These guys came out with earnings. They were in line with earnings per share, but they did miss revenue by about 5 billion. So as far as like notable gaps, PDD might be interesting. I would love to see it. I mean, it's down a lot. This is a retest gap. I would love to see it get bought up first and then look for a rollover. I don't know if that rollover necessarily happens today, though. That could be one to watch for tomorrow for the rollover. Otherwise, we got one little spot here. This kind of looks a little weird, head and shoulder ish. But if we can get a run up, I would love to see us push into about 85.66. If we get there, that's going to be a spot to look to short this thing. But I do have this one on the list that we'll take a look for just to see how this thing plays out. You guys want to look at FRC. So here's my play on FRC. Day trading wise is fine, right? You could take anything day trade wise. What I plan on doing is I was looking at some of the values of the puts, and you have some really good pricing. So kind of what I designed, and you can scale it out as much as you want for if you want to do it, not a recommendation, but something I am highly considering looking at doing, especially with this gap down. My risk to reward becomes a little bit better. The risk on this one, it goes to zero. You lose everything, right? That's possible. It could happen. We did just have some of the bigger banks put the money, $30 billion into it, try to prop this thing up. I very suspect of all of that, right? This is absolutely beat up. It's trash stock. Also, the other thing with, I mean, if you're scrolling back and we look at where this stock actually was, it was all the way up at like, what, 270 or something like that, something crazy. So we've fallen a lot, especially recently. Could this thing get a dead cat bounce? Possibly. The problem with any of these things, once the depositors pull their money out, once you get First Republic Bank, once you get SVB in the news and a lot of shady stuff happening, and can they make it? What is your sentiment as a person with money to go and say, I need to put my money into a bank and say, I'm going to go with First Republic, right? So I think the brand name is shot regardless. I don't think it's going to be a very easy comeback. I don't think really any of that. But what I'm interested in and where I see some value. So I was looking at taking maybe selling the $15 strike put. So let's say we do one of those. And again, this could be scaled out to however you want. And also these numbers are going to change at open because, but they're going to change to our favor at open because we are gapping down a little bit as well. So we can look at one of those. You go for two $10 strikes. And I was looking at 5 of the $5 strikes. Right. All for April 21st. Right. So essentially, based on the numbers of where I think you can get it from the weekend, again, it's not going to counter in the gap down today and the new valuations of all the puts and the extra fear on the table from it. But if you do that based on just the numbers from the weekend, you're going to be banking about 1780, right? But your total exposure is about 6K. So realistically, it's about $4,200 of risk if this thing goes to zero, and you can scale this out. So if you want to double it, triple it, whatever you're comfortable with. Again, this number, which I like better now because I should be able to sell all those puts for a little bit more money. And then it's like, well, all right, let's say I get filled at 15 at that level by the time these things expire. Okay, great. Well, these are all free shares. Plus I make about $250 on top of getting free shares, providing that none of these fill. Here, I'll be in for a little bit of risk. And then here I'm fully in, providing this thing's not at zero by that point, which is the worst case scenario. No matter where it's at, my average cost for the shares come out to about $7.50. And then we'd be looking to sell some calls, kind of running the wheel strategy a little bit on it, see if we could play it. But again, you do have the inherent risk of it going to zero. So be comfortable with losing everything on it. It's possible. But if you do get filled at 750, you're at a very, very good price if this thing does not go under and wants to recover in the future. So says Last Republic. So that's the play I'm looking to do, kind of just buying a different amount of puts or selling to open a lot of different puts just to run the strategy. I think risk reward is pretty good, especially with this gap down today. It's very possible all levels get filled. If they do, again, providing they just don't go to zero, I'll have options and moves that I can make once I'm assigned those shares. So that's what I'm looking for. I tried to do in the broker. I tried to set it up already before I get on the mic, but they say due to volatility, I have to put limit prices. I can't just throw market orders, which is what I was going to do. So I'll be probably live when we do that. Again, it just do I trust First Bank? Do I trust any banks? Do I trust the government? The answer to that overwhelmingly no. But is the risk reward there for me? I think it is, right? I think we're at max fear in these banks, and we'll see what happens. Wayfair. Andrew says, I believe Credit Suisse got some bailout money as well. They didn't get bailout money. No, they just got taken over. Yeah, they just sold. They got crushed over the weekend watching. Yeah, no, they got sold out to what is it, UBS? Where First Republic got a little bit. They didn't get bought out. They just got some more liquidity injected from some of the bigger banks. And now, again, you do have some ties to some of the bigger banks, some interest. And then I think they were trying to call Warren. I don't know if it was them specifically, but I think Warren Buffett is somehow now getting involved with which banks does he want? My question is, does he really even want regional banks at this point? And number two, he's not going to get the same price that we all get, right? He's looking for some kind of a deal. He did the same thing with what was it, Bank of America during the 2008 crisis, where all the banks and everything was absolutely tanking, and he came in and he scooped up a sweet deal. But you attach Warren Buffett's name to everything, that gives us some credibility, and you'll hopefully be able to survive. All right, let's see what else is going on. Netflix. Otherwise, there's not a lot of gaps. Everything kind of looks the same. Tech is going to be stronger today. Maloney says, Credit Suisse is at 91 cents. If you buy 1,000 shares, you spend $9.10. And April 21st cover calls are $1. What am I missing here? I don't know what happens to the shares though, Maloney. I wish I was smarter. Yeah, I don't know if Credit Suisse shares are even still listed to a certain point. I don't know if they just got to roll it now into UBS. I have no idea what happens with those shares. But on the face of it, yes, that the play that you just mentioned makes a ton of sense. I just really don't know what happens to those shares. So until I'm comfortable of like, well, if I was to do any play on Credit Suisse right now, and how long is it until UBS officially takes it over and then they sort out the share thing? I don't know what happens to those shares. All right, we got Disney still looking a little bit to the weak side on the Diz. Kevin O'Toole wants to take a look at XOM. We'll take a look at that. Yep, kind of inside day to the lower range for Disney. Still, again, just consolidating. Maybe a little bit choppy to the weak side. XOM. Another inside day, high volume, probably going to lead to a little bit of chop. We do have, if you want to go long on this thing, that would be your main level is about $100, right? So as close as you could buy it to 100, then your stop is probably going to be somewhere around $99. So you got about $1 of risk. To the higher side, it's $100.85. So that's not going to provide you a very good risk reward unless you have the confidence in this thing that this will break out to the bullish side. Next stop, if that's 101. So I can't really get 2-to-1 risk, even just risking $1 on XOM. So risk to reward is going to be a little tight. I could see it being a little choppy. If you want to play this to the bearish side, then you're really looking for this thing to break 100 first, and then bounce up, hold off that 100, and then you're looking to play the downside. To the downside, you have a lot more. You have a lot better risk reward, even though this thing does look like it's been massively jumping. It's just been like cliff diving. 1, 2, 3, and consider this too. Like if you go out to the longer time frame of things, it was at $32. I mean, it feels like a long time ago, but that was 2020, right? So we're still up massive on this thing. We have a long way down, even though it feels like this thing is come down a lot recently. This thing could still get bought up. It's kind of a little catch-22 spot, but we'll have to see how this one pretty much opens. Bitcoin is still pumping. Is Coinbase moving off of that? Yeah, we do have Coinbase gapping up. I have Bitcoin going to 30K, and I think that's the spot where I just see like lightning in the middle of the daytime. I don't know what that was. Probably UFO. Bitcoin. So I have Bitcoin going to probably. Why does this Bitcoin look different? Oh, that's why. That's not the right ticker. Bitcoin USD. I was like, something's up with this chart. Yep. So the next real, I mean, we're starting to get into a little bit of a heavier area, but I'm looking pretty much at 29,874, roughly around 30K is probably where we get some kind of balance. And then if we start breaking on Bitcoin, those levels and holding above it and really getting, if we can get past about 31.5, there's nothing really holding Bitcoin back to us seeing probably about 39K again. So it's got some real momentum behind it at this point. It's looking decent. Good for Bitcoin, bad for the banks. Did you bail? Yeah, I'm out of the Meta. I'm out of Nvidia puts as well. They both of them broke my levels. And then Meta kind of came back a little bit too, so I'm like, yeah, maybe I should have held it, but it was breaking my levels where I'd rather take the small loss on it and then look for another play somewhere. This one still hasn't hit my target, 267.16, so I think there's still some upside, but need to bounce down to at least 252 first. I should have flipped Nvidia, and I knew it as soon as it started breaking, and I just could not pull the trigger, so missed it. I got no plays right now on Nvidia. Let's take a look at Meta again. Yeah, Meta probably. If you're going to try it again, I still wouldn't try this one yet. I need a little bit more sideways trading, a little bit more weakness, because I do have a longer term volume area at 195.62. That's where we held. We are gapping up slightly from the close, but we do have some resistance above us. So again, I am expecting a little bit of a chop. I'm going to wait. It's probably going to be, I'd probably need to see almost, I have to get probably at this point past the Fed, past Wednesday. And we'll see what happens with that one. Also don't know if it's going to happen, but just in political worlds, Donald Trump was, I don't know if it's tweeting or truthing or whatever it is, but at least saying that he will be arrested on Tuesday. I don't know how that affects the market whatsoever, just because it's never happened where a former president has put out that he will be arrested. So, again, in a worst case, if it does happen, it might not, but if it does happen, this one Oracle still looks like a short on a daily. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This is all consolidation ABC. This is our first break. Oracle, we might be able to get some puts on. But yeah, I don't know if there's protest over it. I don't know if he gets arrested at all, but keep in mind that will be Tuesday right before the Fed. So that could help line up for another crazy news cycle, news story, and we'll see. The one benefit actually in all of this is if Donald Trump does get arrested, the news will be talking about Donald Trump getting arrested and then not so much the banks or the Fed. So in one hand, that might be easing a little bit of relief. Didn't the FBI already bust him? No, well, depends on who you want to go with. Everybody's been, they're like, gotcha. He's like, Donald Trump. Donald Trump, you're fired. You're like, can you do that? He's like, I just did. So he's been good, but yeah, no, for the same reason, yeah, the Fed already looked into it. So now it comes down to like New York State, which who even knows if it's a campaign issue that was a federal, like it's federal funds. It's not a state thing. So I don't know that it's, if anything, worst case, it's like a misdemeanor. And then, realistically, even if he does get arrested, he's going to just bail himself out. And then they probably win through some appeals and things like that. But just on the media imagery and perspective of it, and if that causes any kind of protesting and things like that, again, it's just going to be like what's happening in the world, and you get a little bit just more fear all over added to everything. So again, I don't know if it affects the market at all, but just will absolutely add more chaos into kind of the thought process of everybody right now. So we'll see what happens, but that would be tomorrow, supposedly. And then again, Fed Wednesday. Otherwise, news-wise, I don't think we have too much more news this week that we have to really be focused on and worried about. The big one is obviously the Fed, what they're going to do, and how we want to trade leading up to it. Shiny objects distract. Wow, there's so much drama. Who knew government could replace? I know. Kim Kardashian is the one who should be worried right now. I hope she invested into some treasuries, trying to get some 5%, because how is she going to keep up with with the government? I don't know. Baba looks extremely weak. Again, this is probably a little sympathy play from Pinduoduo. We are at a little bit of support, but we are breaking down a good high wave indecision candle that might give us another leg down. And if we break here, the next level is 77.74. I'm going to throw that a little bit higher on the list as well, just so we can watch. We got 52 seconds left. STX came in real quick, so let me take a look at that one. One thing I would do immediately is draw a fib on this one. We look like we're about 50 to 618. And let's get a good idea on this one. Yep. So we're about the 50 right now. We did have a good bounce off the 618. I will see if we can retest this one. Look for levels. Look for a bounce spot about 59.49 would be a decent spot. 59.50 for attempting to go long, and stops would have to be probably about 57.79 in a longer term picture, but still a little bit of a downtrend, just kind of hanging out at this point. Otherwise, YouTube land, you guys are absolutely terrific, unless, well, unfortunately for now, I have to disconnect. You guys are great. Appreciate you guys joining us each and every day. We will check you guys out tomorrow. Do all the things that all the YouTube people tell people to do, like subscribe and share and tell 8 friends and all that stuff. But otherwise, more importantly, is you can go to reallifetrading.com. We do have free education online, beginner, intermediate, and advanced courses. You guys are more than welcome to join us and trade with us each and every day. We do have this all access pass, which